I wish to see the United States the dominant power on the shores of the Pacific.
Roosevelt believed he knew how to achieve that dominance. He wanted to fulfill a centuries-old dream of connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. He wished to build a canal across Central America.
He was determined that we had to have a canal for strategic reasons, and to promote trade too, but it's really for strategic reasons, to be able to move the Navy back and forth between the Atlantic and the Pacific. And one way or another, we were going to get that canal.
In the 1880s, Ferdinand de Lesseps, the builder of Egypt's Suez Canal, tried to dig a canal across the Isthmus of Panama. He soon discovered that hacking a route through mountains and disease-infested jungle was more demanding than scooping sand in the desert. By 1889, his project was bankrupt. Congress agreed with Roosevelt on the need for a canal and had already authorized $40 million to buy out de Lesseps' company, along with its rusting equipment. An additional $10 million was earmarked to buy the rights to the route from Panama's colonial parent, the nation of Colombia. Secretary of State John Hay negotiated a treaty, but on August 12, 1903, the Colombian Senate rejected the pact outright. Roosevelt was furious. The failure of the treaty served to make him more determined than ever.
I do not think that the Bogota lot of jackrabbits should be allowed permanently to bar one of the future highways of civilization. We must build the canal.
TR believed that civilized nations, mostly Western European powerful nations in the United States, had a duty to uplift weaker nations and protect them, and that world order was based on civilized nations leading uncivilized nations. This is the justification for imperialism. It's the justification for the Panama Canal.
To that end, Roosevelt now discreetly encouraged the Panamanians to believe that if they would stage a revolt against Colombia, he would assure its success. The daring plan would bring TR severe criticism. Typically, he had no self-doubt that he was doing the right thing.
You could no more make an agreement with the Colombian rulers than you could nail currant jelly to a wall. And the failure to nail currant jelly to a wall is not due to the nail. It is due to the jelly. I did my best to get them to act straight. I should have recommended Congress take possession of the isthmus by force of arms. I intend to do the job once and for all.
On November 4th, Panamanian gunfire proclaimed independence as an American cruiser conveniently steamed just off the coast. The new nation of Panama would soon sign a treaty with the U.S., giving TR what he wanted.
Latin Americans have never forgotten that, and other countries looked at that as just an incredibly arrogant moment in American foreign policy. He didn't ask the Senate. He had no legal right to send the cruisers to encourage the Panamanian Revolution.
Newspaper editors and political rivals were outraged. But as usual, most Americans were delighted that their president had succeeded. Work on the canal would begin in 1906. And TR's Big Ditch would soon become one of the greatest construction projects in history. 6,000 men worked each day to create the great gash through the mountains called the Culebra Cut. It would take 61 million pounds of dynamite and over 2 million cubic yards of concrete, enough to build a wall 8 feet thick, 12 feet high, and 133 miles long.
He became the first president ever to leave the United States in November of 1906, simply because he just couldn't resist the temptation to see the dirt fly. He regarded it as his greatest achievement. He felt that he had changed the shape of the world and made the United States enormously more secure by digging that ditch across Panama.
As Roosevelt clambered aboard one of the great steam shovels digging the canal, criticism of his actions was surely far from his mind.
I thought that instead of debating for half a century before building the canal, it would be better to build the canal first and debate me for a half century.
Theodore Roosevelt's dream to shrink the world and expand American influence would not be achieved quickly. The first ships would not sail through the canal until 5 years after he had left office. But the Big Ditch would forever be thought of as Roosevelt's Canal, a dramatic symbol of his vision, determination, and stubborn willfulness.